Happy Monday, everybody. This is Rolling Out, of course, and I am your host, Crystal Jordan, and this is Reality Check. Now, before I bring on today's guest, I want to play this clip because this clip kind of speaks to, I think, how all of us are feeling right now. There's Supreme Court going crazy on television. I don't know how many variants of the COVID-19 virus we now have. We've added monkeypox, and everything is going crazy on social media. So my next guest has something to help us kind of get through, inform us, but laugh a little bit, something to get you through the crazy times that all of us are experiencing. Check out this clip, and we're going to come right back with tonight's guest.
Is the Supreme Court causing your anxiety to rise higher than gas prices? Don't worry. We got you. I mean, not really. There's nothing we can really do, but you can watch Hell of a Week on Comedy Central. Comedy Central's Hell of a Week with me, Charlamagne the God. I got the best and brightest comedians.
Oh, yeah, that's true right there.
Political figures and cultural influencers joining me to break down the biggest stories.
Hell of a Week with Charlamagne the God. It's the week's last laugh. Thursday, July 28th after The Daily Show on Comedy Central.
All right, you guys guessed it. Please help me welcome the one and only Charlamagne the God.
Please, Crystal, how are you?
I am great. First of all, congratulations on the God's Honest Truth. But we are absolutely excited about Hell of a Week because we can all relate to, I think we're having like hell of a last few years, right?
Yeah, that's exactly why we changed the name. We changed the name to reflect, more of the times and more of the times that we're going to see. Like, even when I say like the God's Honest Truth, yes, that is my perspective of things. You know what I mean? And that is my truth, is the way I see it, which you'll still get on the show. But Hell of a Week is just more broader in the sense of how everybody's collectively feeling.
Right. Well, it's interesting because you can make light of some of these topics, Supreme Court, obviously political issues that we've, especially after the former president left office. It's like a lot of these issues people can make fun, people get most of their information from social media, but I mean, there's some really heavy topics that often, kind of leave us angry, very emotional. And I think it's really hard on everyone's mental health. So knowing that you're a big advocate of therapy, how do you suggest people kind of manage that, what they're taking in that can be negative and triggering, but you still want to be informed?
Well, I think that's the beauty of, therapy, or even just not therapy, meditation, healing exercises, breathing exercises, because all of those are healing exercises, but breathing exercises. My good friend, Dr. Alfie Breland Noble, who runs the Acoma Project, and she runs my organization, the Mental Wealth Alliance. We did a panel on Saturday at the United Justice Coalition Summit for Rock Nation, and she said something that I thought was very profound. She spoke on how a lot of the times the cognitive behavioral therapy isn't enough, the talk therapy isn't enough, and she was like, she encourages people to do it, but she said that a lot of times we just need an outlet, and that outlet could be people who like to rap, people who like to sing, people who like to draw, people who like to go for a jog, whatever it is. It's a lot of different ways to, get things out of your system. And I think that's the way we have to look at it. Like, we know when we eat something we don't got no business eating, we pretty much know what can help flush it out of our system. And we have to be the same way in regards to what we take in mentally and emotionally.
I like that. That's an interesting way to look at it. Sometimes you have to just flush it out. So whatever you have to do to balance it for you is what you need to do. Now, yeah. I want to ask you, because it seemed like we had 2020 where everybody sat down, and during that time, it seems like everyone took, started working and doing your job, because every celebrity that I've been a celebrity publicist for years, everyone has a podcast, everyone is going live, everybody has something to say. Do you think that it's overkill? Do you think this is where we just are, where so many people are trying to share it's like everyone's trying to express themselves all at the same time?
No, Crystal, that's an observation that I made, but I never really thought about how I feel about it. Let me think. Let me feel into that for a second.
Okay.
I don't think it's a problem per se, not for me and what I do, because it's social media, right? And that's the way of the world. Like, I was literally just saying this earlier today. Somebody asked me what advice would I give to kids who want to break into the entertainment world, and I said, number one, I don't even know if I would tell them this is a field they should pursue, but also, what is entertainment nowadays?
Yeah.
Meaning that, you know, my daughter's 14. She's met people like Oprah and the Ava DuVernays of the world, like the Issa Raes, and
Yeah.
she respects it because, you know, to her, she had to write a book report on somebody like Oprah. You know what I mean? So
Right.
she respects it, but I've seen her and her friends actually get excited over these stars on TikTok. I have no idea who they are. I have no idea who these people on YouTube are, you know, and she'll be like, oh, that's such and such. And I'll be like, who is such and such? And then she'll explain it to me. That person is not on my radar, doesn't register with me at all. But to her, they're the biggest thing in the world. So that is their entertainment. You know what I mean? Like my youngest kids, 6 and 3, the thing that they watch the most is YouTube.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like, even when you talk about these people with social media pages and everything else, like that's what you're supposed to do, you know, with your social media. And we just live in a world where everybody has an audience, like literally, whether that audience is 10,000 or 10 million, everybody has an audience and everybody wants to talk directly, you know, to their base. I'm not mad at that, you know, because I think the one thing I do understand is that it takes a lot of consistency to really be at the top of that, you know, game for a long time. And I think that that's one thing, you know, we've shown with the Breakfast Club, or even other platforms that I have, like Brilliant Idiots. Breakfast Club is going on 13 years. Brilliant Idiots is going on a decade. You know, I've been on television with Viacom for a decade, you know. So I just think it takes a certain level of consistency. So I actually appreciate everybody expressing themselves through their various platforms, just because, like, it honestly just makes me look better. I think.
It makes you stand out because
I've been here. I'm here. And I know, like I said, I know what it takes. Like every day, Monday through Friday, 6 a.m. to 10 a.m., I made that commitment to be on, you know, your radio every morning. And we've been performing at a very high level for a long time. And I thank the listeners for that, number one. But also, you know, this is just what I'm here to do.
Yeah. Because I want to ask you about that tenure and that what you've learned in that time and how things have changed. But before we go there, I want to stay there in the fact that, you know, social media is very different. Everyone has an audience. And now we see that the idea to go viral has become a lot of people's goal, right? So you do something. I just saw on Instagram a girl glued something on her head to pull it off which probably really damaged her hair, probably hurt her a lot, but it was something to go viral. So do you think that we're in any danger of people trying to say things that they really don't believe in, but they know are going to get attention, and then that triggering other people? It just seems like the things that we talk about, for example, we know Kevin Samuels was someone that was a big, you know, influencer on social media. A lot of the things that he said were very different than certain things that he said early on, but he knew, if I say certain things to this audience, I'm going to go viral. And do you think this is a different kind of pattern than we have in the past? Because provocative always, you know, pushes through and goes first. But do you think we're in a dangerous place because that's everyone's goal? It's just, let me do something crazy. Let me do something out of the way so that I can go viral. So I have an opportunity to build my platform, make money, and be famous.
Do I think we're in a dangerous place? Yes. And we've been in that dangerous place for a long time now. And I realized how dangerous it was I'm a big believer in, like, you know, there's this old story about Orson Welles' War of the Worlds. And, you know, he had a radio show, and he got on the radio show and told everybody that aliens were attacking, you know, and people actually believed it. You know, I mean, literally believed it. They didn't have any reason to fact check because, you know, number one, at the time, radio was the end all be all. So if you hear that on the radio, you just assume it was true. And I think that's happened on social media a lot over the past, you know, 5 to 6 years. Like, we've seen people really weaponize, you know, social media. Like, when we say a danger as far as like people doing anything to go viral, there's always going to be idiots, but I'm actually talking about the people who, weaponize social media to make things up about people, to, create false narratives about people, to, we've seen them use it to attack other elected officials. It's just like, that's when it gets very, 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 that's when it's really dangerous, because these are things that have real world consequences. Just look at, the 2016 election. And I think I read something this weekend where it was saying like during the 2016 election and over the past 4 years, they've been particularly targeting young Black men with misinformation.
Yeah.
A lot of it has to do with misinformation about the president, or the former president, Donald Trump. And man, that's when it gets really, 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 really dangerous. I mean, we was in a pandemic and couldn't even, get that right because of the interference that social media, was causing. And I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. For me, it feels more bad, but I guess when it is something that, for example, people thought the vaccine could actually harm them. That's not my place whether to agree or disagree on that.
Right.
I'm vaccinated. I made the choice that I thought was best for me and my family. But for people who did feel that way, they were really trying their hardest to get their information out. And whether they're right or wrong, it's still blocking out the information from where you should actually be getting it from.
Yeah.
And I think the biggest issue is that the institutions that we trust, whether it's the newspapers, the big news networks like CNN, MSNBC, Fox, they're all opinion-based instead of news-based, fact-based. Like, it'd be one thing if we knew on social media this was everybody's opinion and people were allowed to express it. And you just, in your mind, this is an opinion, it's not fact, but some people don't know. They take what they see on social media as fact. But when it's on the news, when you got a bunch of people on the news debating and like right now they're asking like, should Donald Trump go to jail for the insurrection? Why are you asking the question?
Yeah.
Make a statement.
Right.
Because when you ask a question, you leave a gray area and people will be like, well, maybe he's shouldn't be in jail. Maybe he's not guilty. Who knows? Like, and so that's, to me, that's where the actual danger lies, when it starts to impact those, institutions where we're supposed to be getting our facts from.
No, I definitely agree. And I think, like you said, we saw a lot of that during that entire 4 years. It was just, I think we got a chance to see how bad things can get, because we had some political issues. And then, of course, the pandemic. Even today, there's still so much conflicting information. And there should not be, like you said, there should be like facts about certain things. Opinion should not matter.
That's right.
So how do we deal with, or where do you personally, because one of the things I love about you, and I kind of consider you a mentor in my head, because you manage to stay authentic to your own opinions, but you also are very clear about what is fact and what is not. So that's a hard road for some people to walk. A lot of people speak their opinion like it is fact. And then some people are kind of you can't really tell what they believe and what they don't, but you've been able to, especially, watching your career, this is what I believe, this is what I'm about. However, I also believe in giving an audience to people that may not share the same views. So how do we find a balance with conversation that is real? I saw one of the episodes on the God's Honest Truth was on critical race theory. Extremely important conversation, but can be overwhelmingly heavy, because sometimes the reality is very depressing. The reality is something that, especially as of late, because we have so many realities that are difficult to swallow, but you still need to know, how do you find that balance? And especially going into this season, which we know this show premieres, the show comes back with the new title and a new feel on Thursday. But where do you find that balance to be able to entertain, but still give real insight, but not make it quite so heavy so that people can, digest it easier?
I wish I had some scientific, technical answer for you, but the reality is, and I say this often, like, I'm not an expert at anything. I just have some experiences, and I read, and even when I read, I'm always a student. So usually what you hear me doing is just sharing information. I'm not trying to force anything on anybody. I'm just sharing information, and I'm not a academic. I'm not I didn't go to college. So I'm not like a scholar, or anything like that. So maybe my delivery is just, still fresh off a dirt road in Monk's Corner. So maybe it's just a little bit easier to digest. And I also I love humor. I love comedy. Like I was just at the very historic show that Chris Rock and Kevin Hart did at the Garden. Had no idea Dave Chappelle was going to be the opener, but I left that show feeling like, man, humor is still the best way to deliver truth.
Yeah.
Humor is still the best way to message, because you're literally taking in information but laughing at the same time, and it's just something about it that just makes it more digestible. And everybody I grew up around was like that. They weren't necessarily comedians per se, but my dad and my uncles and my aunts and like my cousins, like my friends in my neighborhood, like that's just how we used to always talk. And it even felt like they used to deliver bad news with a joke.
Yeah.
And I'm talking about bad news, like such and such, like man, such and such just like harm themselves in a real way.
Yeah.
And they'll call you and talk to you like this person just left, like he went on vacation. Like it was just stuff like that. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it's like, damn. I understand now through therapy why we do that. We do that because it's just like trauma's hard, right? Trauma's hard to process. And sometimes we're very uncomfortable delivering that trauma or talking about that trauma. So it's just like that's what we just choose to do, lighten the mood.
Yeah.
So for me, it's just like I just like I said, I'm sharing information and I'm just delivering it in the way that I've always known how to. And I guess that's with humor.
Yeah. I think that I know a lot of guys like that. And it's like, how can you be laughing about something like cancer? And it's like, that's just their way of being able to deal with it and express it. I want to ask you, because you mentioned comedy, and one of the questions that I had for you, because I watched Dave Chappelle's latest special on Netflix where he is basically at his old high school talking about why it was important for him to be authentic and fight for freedom of expression for artists. And he mentioned, comedians definitely is one of those last art forms that has that, but we see it even in the backlash that he's experienced because of some of his prior specials. And, obviously the situation that happened, earlier this year with Will Smith and Chris Rock, so many things are threatening freedom of expression when it comes to comedy. Do you think that we need to put things in place so that we don't have obviously a lot of people feel very insulted by certain comedians and what they're saying and different people. We saw that happen. So do you think there needs to be some regulation on how comedians are able to express themselves? Or do you agree that really needs to be free so that they can continue, even yourself can continue to share in a way that is authentic to you and also connects with your audience?
No, I don't think anything needs to be put in place. I believe in freedom of speech, but I know that when you express yourself, you're not free of the consequences of said speech. So if somebody doesn't like something that you said, they can just simply choose to turn you off. They can simply choose to tune you out. The reason I don't think we need any type of policing is simply because, everybody's an adult, and I think intention matters a lot.
Yeah.
And certain people like the Dave Chappelles, the Chris Rocks, the Kevin Harts, just to name those three because they're fresh on my mind, their intention is absolutely positively never to harm anybody.
Mm-hmm.
Their intention is to make you laugh, and their intention is to observe the world and make us look at the world, from a different perspective. And I've never seen any one of them, offend and not take responsibility for that offense.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't, because I don't. The reason I don't think it should be no boundaries in place too is just because it's like that. Now you're not getting real conversation. Now you're not getting people's real feelings. That's why everything feels so performative now. Like either people are performing to try to go viral, or they're being performative, just because they're saying what they think people want them to say, as opposed to expressing themselves. I'd rather a person really express themselves and, let's have the honest conversation.
Yeah.
Like I just did the View this morning, and Anna Navarro said something that I didn't even know was a conversation, and it was that people think Liz Cheney is a hero. I didn't know that they were looking at her as a hero. I know that she was getting, some props because she, seems like she finally came to her senses when it comes to Trump, but I didn't know people were looking at her like a hero. So we had a discussion about it because I don't see it that way. I don't see somebody who's been complicit, with Donald Trump for the past 4 years, voted with him 93% of the time. Yeah. And then even after the insurrection, you vote against the John Lewis Voting Rights Act. Like you can't tell me that, you're for preserving democracy and, you're against systemic racism and anti-Semitism and oppression, but you're voting against a bill that will protect our voting rights from those things.
Right.
You know what I mean? So, yeah, I just like the conversation. We can agree to disagree all day. I'm cool with that.
Yeah, I like that. Before we go, I want to talk to you a little bit more about your show, but I have to ask you, I know your history with Wendy Williams, and for me, it's like a huge, I miss her. And I think a lot of people that I miss that presence on television. Wendy's been a presence in most of our lives, for years when she was on the radio, and her show, very successful for a long time. Just that in your face, I'm going to say it, what people are thinking. I'm not going to cater to the celebrities that I have on the show. There was a niche that she definitely had. How do you feel about her not being on television right now, not on television? We know that she has some other things in the works, but how do you feel about that, her not being there every morning or every early afternoon on television?
I mean, for me personally, I'm a fan, just like everybody else is. I was a fan before I was working with her. When I worked with her, just watching her work ethic and how she went about doing her show every day, and things she dealt with in her personal life, but still was able to perform on that high level. I respect it, to the fullest. So for me, just as a fan, I hate to see her go out like that.
Yeah.
Like that's not the way I want to see Wendy Williams bow out. I want to see Wendy Williams bow out on her own terms, and just more importantly, I want to see her in good health. Like, everybody, that's going to be listening to this, or, us two right here, every day, all we want is good health. Like, literally, like we want to stay alive. We want to be healthy. That's why we eat the way we do, work out the way we work out. Like, you don't wish bad health on, nobody. So it's just like, for me, I want to see her in good health. I want to see her in good spirits, and I want to see her go out on her terms. So just for me, that's just a level of disappointment I have as a fan. You can say what you want about Wendy Williams, love her, hate her. She absolutely, positively, 100% is one of the best to ever do it in radio and television. Because look at how successful her daytime talk show was. This is a Black woman who came from radio, who does not fit the part of any of the other daytime hosts that are going on out there, and she was on for 13 years. Like, that says a lot to her skill level. That says a lot to her talent. And, even though that whole time frame with me and Wendy was brief, I think it was like from 2006 to like, sometime in 2010, early 2010. That definitely was a rung in the ladder of my career. Like, she absolutely, her and her husband, I give her and her husband absolutely, positively put me in position, to even be heard in New York City, and to go from the number 98 market to the number 1 market. That's something I never take for granted. And, just because it was for a reason in a season and not a lifetime, I'm cool with that. I really thank him.
Yeah, no, that's dope. I definitely wanted to ask you that because I know that it might have been a short time, but it was definitely it's part of your bio. When we're studying up on Charlamagne the God, that's a part in there. So I'm sure that time means a lot to you. All right, well, let people know. We know this is Monday night. We're excited about the new show on Thursday. Tell people what they can expect. What changes are you making? What can we expect to see when we tune in on Thursday to It's Been a Hell of a Week?
Well, the biggest change that we made is and why am I blanking on what the word? The format.
Okay.
The format. It's the format, because I believe in community. Community is something that I really enjoy. I love a group. of us sitting around having conversation. So that's what the show is. The show is a panel, and it's me, 3 guests every week. And then later on in the show, it's a one-on-one conversation between me and somebody else, like a notable person, whoever it is that week. So that's the biggest thing. The biggest thing is the format change, because I really do love community. I tried to do a lot of heavy lifting first season, and I mean, it was received well, but that lifting is very heavy, you know, and sometimes you just be up there, and I feel like I always feel like if anything I'm doing has to feel bigger than me, and it's like I don't want to be up there on television for 8 minutes by myself. I would rather be up there with 3 other people, whose voices I respect, because it gives you the opportunity to do what I love to do, which is break new voices.
Yeah.
So that's the biggest change in the show, that the format is more community based now.
Well, I like that. I love the God's Honest Truth, but definitely I can relate to, it's been a hell of a week, because I feel like we keep having those. We keep having weeks that are days, weeks,
Absolutely.
New information consistently. I want to say thank you, because we had you here at Rolling Out. We had you come down and do our Riot conference before COVID happened, and we were able to celebrate your career with the cover. You've done so much since then, so we definitely are happy at the chance to get to celebrate you again, and hopefully we'll be able to do that, again in the near future, and have you back on the cover and have your conversation, because it definitely was a huge bonus for that conference. So thank you so much for being so gracious. You were amazing to our audience, and we appreciate that. We know it's important to celebrate people and give them their thank yous while we have them. So we just thank you for how accommodating and giving you've always been with our Black outlet that definitely tries to tell our stories from a perspective that's authentic. So very much appreciative, and you are definitely one of the best to ever do it as well. So
thank you, Crystal. I appreciate you, and I really do thank everybody at Rolling Out for always showing love consistently. Your platform is a platform that is, like, I think really, really, really dope for our culture, man. And y'all give covers to people who deserve them, but don't get them anywhere else. So I appreciate that.
Well, no problem. We appreciate it. And we'll definitely be tuning in this Thursday on Comedy Central. Let people know.
Right after the Daily Show.
And absolutely.
11:30 Eastern Standard Time, literally right after the Daily Show. So that's a great lead-in. New episode of the Daily Show right into a hell of a week. So check us out.
Definitely. Congratulations again. And we hope to see you soon, Charlamagne.
Thank you, Crystal.
All right. Bye-bye. All right. Thank you guys for tuning in. Great way to start the week off with Charlamagne the God. I was like, you know what? We definitely got to do this. This was a little bit of a surprise, but I'm so excited to talk to him. He's literally like a mentor in my head, because he has intelligent conversation, but he's managed to, like I said, find a way to be authentic. And that's really how you're able to be impactful, is by being your best self, showing up, telling the truth, but being open to hear other people's opinions. If you've enjoyed this broadcast, if you're watching on Facebook from Rolling Out, make sure that you like and share this broadcast. If you're watching on YouTube, you guys know I need you to share, subscribe first, then make sure you share and like the broadcast. We'll be right back with more amazing conversations, more intimate conversations right here on Rolling Out, or right here on YouTube. I'm From Crystal with Love. I will see you guys next time. I hope you're off to a blessed and productive week. See you next time.